Kalsoum Abbasi. She's an engineer with Colorado Springs Utilities, and not many people know that there is a project on Hoosier Pass. So if you come up, Kalsoum, and I'll get your PowerPoint up.
So what did we decide? Am I left clicking or are you running my slides?
I don't know. Are you an air traffic controller?
I'm not. I guess we'll find out. All right. Well, again, my name is Kalsoum Abbasi, and I am a senior project engineer in our water conveyance group at Colorado Springs Utilities. So I do our yield forecasting, and I also do our system operations planning at the utility. Hey, it worked. So we've seen some SNOTEL site graphs tonight. This is the Hoosier Pass SNOTEL, and this is the site that I look at to forecast our Blue River yield. And the information I'll present tonight is based on our April 1st forecast because we haven't done our May forecasting yet. I just wanted to point out that as of April 1st, that SNOTEL site was at 89% of normal, and it has since improved to about 103% of normal. The green line is the most likely runoff curve, in essence, is the 50% probability. And it may be hard for you to see, but right now, as of 2 days ago, that 50% probability is tracking right on kind of the average runoff curve that we would see for this particular site. The other sites that I look at when I'm doing my forecasting are inflows to Dillon Reservoir, Green Mountain Reservoir, and the Colorado River near Dot Zero. And so I'm showing you the April 1st expected flows, predicted flows, and at that time they were 84% of average for Dillon, predicting 82% of average at Green Mountain Reservoir, and 80% at the Dot Zero gauge on the Colorado River. And I also show the May 1st ESP from the CBRFC, the Colorado Basin River Forecast Center that Victor talked about. And they're about the same at Dillon and Green Mountain. You can see it's dropped some for Dot Zero, however, and that, we've talked about the Summit County sweet spot and what we've seen this winter. We've done well up here, but the rest of the basin is not faring as well. So looking at all that data, what I've come up with is a prediction of 11,000 acre-feet of yield for our system, which again is at the top of Hoosier Pass. And my caveat to that is because I'm really heavily looking at Summit County sites and I only have one Colorado main stem site, I suspect that the river call and or other conditions will not actually provide that yield to us. So, we've tried to look at some other Colorado main stem sites when we're doing our yield forecasting, and they just really don't correlate well with our Blue River system. And in fact, the Blue River system is the most difficult one for me to predict. It just doesn't correlate as well as some of our other collection sites do with the various NRCS SNOTEL sites and the streamflow forecast. So just kind of an aside there. So my official forecast was, as of April, was 11,000 acre-feet. And to put that into some context, our average yield, and by yield I mean unconstrained yield, so that is our yield that's not limited by operational conditions, full or empty terminal storage closer to Pikes Peak, which is where the Blue River water ultimately comes. Inherently, my forecasting should take river call into account because I do look at historical yields, and that those are affected by the river calls. But again, I think for this particular year, because Summit County is doing so much better than the rest of the basin, I think it's a little skewed. So our average overall unconstrained hydrologic yield for the system is 13,300 acre-feet. But our average actual diversion, so what we actually bring through the Hoosier Tunnel from the Blue River system to Montgomery Reservoir, which is just on the other side of Hoosier Pass, that average is more like 7,700 acre-feet. And our diversions are affected by, of course, again, terminal storage, so how much room we have on Pikes Peak, and the South Platte River Call, because we do have a storage right for Montgomery Reservoir. And we do preferentially prefer to take that water when we're in priority. And we generally only come into priority when there's a free river call or lack of call on the South Platte River. So in years when there's a big runoff, we have free river on the South Platte, and especially if we have a lot of snowpack up above Montgomery Reservoir, we'll get so much inflow just from that watershed that we can't take both that water and the Blue River water, or just our reservoir level starts to rise too fast. So we will preferentially turn out the Blue River water and actually collect the South Platte River water instead. I don't anticipate a lot of free river on the South Platte this year. I think that's unlikely. We've seen a lot of free river since the 2013 floods because so many diversions were washed out. It was difficult for some of those big diverters downstream to take as much as they historically have during the river. So we actually bypassed a lot of water on the Blue River system over the past 3 years because we were so flush on the South Platte side. I think that's starting to change with both improvements and repairs made on the South Platte and of course the weather conditions this year. So based on what I'm seeing for Hoosier Pass Snowtell and the ESP forecast for May 1st on those stream gauges that I showed you, I actually expect, again, my official yield to be pretty similar to what I forecasted in April. But my professional judgment, I think, is that it's probably going to be more close to 6 to 8,000 acre feet is what we'll probably actually divert. System-wide, we're fairly full. Our terminal storage, though, on Pikes Peak is about average for this time of year. So our upper Arkansas reservoirs, our other sources are still quite full, in fact, as full as they have been in the past 20 years. But we do have room on Pikes Peak for this Blue River water. However, again, I think the river call will probably limit us a little bit. And of course, timing of runoff is part of that as well. If it comes off too fast, we just can't collect it all. So anything, again, I mentioned this before, anything that we don't divert is bypassed to the Blue River. And so it's a little hard for me to predict right now. I'm curious to see what the May forecast brings. Again, I kind of suspect the numbers will be similar, but I'm not sure that we will actually divert what I'm predicting what the numbers say we will divert. And with that, I will take any questions if you have them.